Hello, and welcome to Max 8 tutorial number 20, Playing with Groove. Alright, so in the last tutorial, we were recording with record and storing it in our buffer, named Buffy McBuffer, and playing it with play. And unsurprisingly, everything was pretty unsurprising and worked quite well. Something like this. I click this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to stop because we figured out that this is 6 seconds. And now we'll just play it to make sure everything's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. So everything working sort of as expected. Well, as you know, as expected is not good enough. So let's unlock our patcher and move record off to the side over here. We may want to record a little more, but we want to take some time to play with groove instead of play. So we'll be real lazy here, and we'll just substitute groove in here for play. Groove, G-R-O-O-V-E with a tilde, and it already goes to Buffy McBuffer, and that has 2 outputs. Now, a toggle is not going to work with groove because groove is signal driven. So let's make a new object here called sig tilde. That means signal. Make a space and put 1.0. So signal, 1.0 is like your plain old signal. 0.5 is half a signal, and 2 is twice as much signal. I know it sounds funny, but it's just the way it is. So this is now putting out a signal of 1, and you can see it's got the dotted line there, so it's putting out signal, but it's just sort of a sine wave for groove to follow. It's just that it's very fast. So we connect that up to groove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And groove immediately started there by accident. I didn't mean for that, but as soon as it got the signal, it did what groove does. Now here's the weird thing. If you send groove a number, it interprets that, a regular number, it interprets that as a number of milliseconds. So if you type a message and type a 0 in here, it's going to go to 0 and start playing. Let's try it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Thank you, Groove, so far. Now let's have a little bit of fun and see how this works. We'll go up here and we'll make a float. That is, type the letter F. Unlock your patcher, of course. Type the letter F. And make it lock your patcher, and let's make it 0.6. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and hit the 0.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Wow, that was slow. Yes, because when the signal slows down to 0.6, then groove slows down to 0.6, meaning 0.6 of the speed, and also detunes down to 0.6 of frequency of what it was. But we can have even more fun than that by separating the speed that groove plays from the pitch shift, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we'll let's unlock our patchers and move this over to the side here. This is kind of our start button now here. Okay, and let's get an attrui object up here. So type an N-A-T-T-R-U-I. There it is. And pull this thing up here. connect it to our groove and lock our patcher so that we can tell it to, all the way at the bottom, turn on time stretching. So time stretching is when it separates the time stretch from the pitch shift. Okay? So if we turn time stretch on and then play this at 0.6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can you hear how my voice is actually at the right pitch, but it's at but it goes much slower? Or we can do it another way and turn this up a little bit to 1.5, and you'll see my voice isn't higher, it's just faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we'll turn it off and see what it sounds like.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
See? So time stretch, that mode, separates the two. So then if you have time stretch on, the signal only has to do with how fast groove is playing. And if we want to shift the pitch, we can do that by, I believe, using, sometimes I would use prepend, like this. I would unlock my patcher, and I would say, prepend pitch shift, and then we could send a number through here, right? But just for fun, I'm going to show you that something that's the same, which is you can say, type a M for message, and write pitch shift, and then write the $ for string 1. Okay? These two things are essentially the same. The pitch shift, when a number comes in here, it'll be string 1, and this will output pitch shift and whatever that number is. So let's put our float over here and put this over here and give it a go here. I'm going to just change this to normal 1 so that it sounds normal. I'm going to make this 1 to start with, and let's see how it sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very good. So now we'll pitch shift it a little bit. Let's just say up to 2.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, nice. So you have control of two completely different parameters here. Now you could, you're going with a nice high voice there, but you could slow it down as we did before and try it again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
What we call lethargic chipmunk, as opposed to going this direction, where we'll have a, get down below 1 here, like an exuberant, lethargic chipmunk versus exuberant whale.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So, if you get the drift here, this, we're just running the speed, and this, we're changing the pitch shift. So, and then, of course, you can put them back together and control both at the same time with this if you unclick time shift. So that is one of the things that Groove is really good at doing. Here, we're going to get rid of the extra thing there. And then we can also add another message that is loop string 1, and then we can hook that to there, and put a toggle over it, since a toggle sends out a 0 or a 1. Now, what does loop do? Loop, well, the funny thing is that we'll have to figure out how to stop this thing if, and somewhat embarrassingly, I don't think I can remember. If we turn loop on, the whole thing will loop generally between a minimum and maximum point that we have not yet set. But let's make sure we know how to stop it. Which is, yes, good. Send it the message stop. So let's, before we do anything crazy, we'll have a message stop ready to stop it. STOP. Just by the way, these max objects are sensitive to upper and lower case, so I've seen a lot of people over the years put in capitals, all caps, STOP, and it doesn't work. Even though it seems more emphatic, it just doesn't. So we've turned loop on, and we've got the... Okay, here we go. Let's see if it loops.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2,
Yeah, so it just starts over.
5, 6, 7.
1, 2, 3, 4,
7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6, 7.
Right.
1, 2.
Okay, stop. So I can then have this looping and play that. Now, when people want instruments to have a sustain, so it comes on and it plays something, like if you have a recorded cello sound or something like that, then you want to be able to have that middle part of the cello play indefinitely. And that's why you would have the loop points cut in there very carefully. Or if you're sampling things in a funny way. So maybe we could try that out. As you can see, our buffer goes all the way to 6,000 here. So what I'm going to do is create a new object, unlock my patcher, and create a range slider. Whoops, sorry. It's actually called an R slider, I was thinking. But that's the way I remember it. It's a range slider, and there it is. And, whoops. Range slider. That's it. There it is. Okay. And I like it horizontal here. It automatically changes. You don't have to change that by yourself. Now, range slider is kind of funny. Let's put some an integer box below each side of it. So there's one. And here's another. I just typed the letter I. Okay. Lock your patcher. And here's what range slider does. You put your cursor somewhere. You just drag from one side to the other. So this goes up to, unsurprisingly, 127. A lot of things in Macs are built for MIDI. Now, that would be fine if this was doing something else in MIDI, but it's not. But so we're going to change that. But just check this out. So every time you click your mouse, it resets and you drag. Click, drag backwards. Click, drag forward. Now, if you push Shift, you can drag one side of it to get a more accurate thing. And I'm trying to remember, what is it? Is it Control? No, it's not Control. Option? Oh, there it is. Option. With Option, and this is kind of weird, you drag up and down, and it expands both sides, and then Command lets you move the whole thing back and forth. So if you kind of you've gotten exactly 10 seconds and you want to move it back and forth, this is Option, and then this is this is Option, this is Command, and this is Shift. You just grab the sides and move them in like that. So that's how to move it around. In the meantime, let's unlock our patcher, click on this thing, and say, or better yet, let us just tell it the size. No. Yes. We will tell it the size, and we'll do it the same way we just did it before. We'll say message, and we'll say size, $1, and we'll put an integer box above it, and when we lock our patcher, we'll just type 6,000 into it so it can handle our whole loop. And now, when we drag from one end to the other, you see we get 5,999. Why? It's not actually surprising. It's because in the world of programming, you start with a 0, and if your range is 6,000 and you have to include the number 0, then the highest number is 5,999. That's okay, you'd be missing a whole millisecond. But this is sort of fun now, because we can connect these boxes to the minimum and maximum points, now that we have looping on. And when we lock our patcher then, and we can drag a spot, it'll be like, hey, oh, what did we not do here? Oh, how can I do this? What we want to do is tell it to start right exactly here. If I hit a 0 now, it'll keep repeating. Here, watch, I'll just show you.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6,
Right,
7,
right.
6, 7, 6, 7, 6.
Now, stop. But if I hit 0, it should start at the beginning and then loop when it gets to that point.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7.
But if we might need another way to get it to start where we want it here, and that would be, because loop's on, once it's started, it keeps running. But if we output this to a little message box like that, unlock your patcher, type an M, and then type something down here. Then, whenever this would just be to start a loop, and you're like, hey, start that loop.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
Right.
1, 2, 3, 1,
Hey,
2.
stop. And then if I put it all the way up here, and I wanted it to start, I could just hit that.
Heaven,
Heaven, heaven, heaven, heaven, heaven, heaven, heaven. Bevan? Okay, stop. Now, as funny as that is, we can have even a little bit more fun with that, which is we can go and unlock our patcher and make a new object, hit a preset here. Preset stores, stores presets is the sort of simple way to think about it. So if we wanted to, we'll just connect it to the top of the R slider and then lock our patcher and just hit a bunch of different spots. Now I'm going to push the Shift key and then 1, Shift key and 2, Shift key and 3, Shift key and 4, Shift key and 5. Oh, let's just see what it does. So now, if we start it going, whoops, lock it, start it going.
1, 1, 1, 1.
Here we'll hit 2.
2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7,
Oh my goodness, I really like that one. Alright. But is that even as far as we can go? It's really not. So just hold on to your hat there. What if we had a slider for pitch shift here that could also be set with a preset object? Or maybe we could just, use a regular slider. Okay, Buffer, Buffy, McBuffer, get out of the way. You do have to keep your buffer in your patcher here, but sometimes they do get in the way. Okay, new one. So what we want here is a slider, and we are going to have to work on it a little bit because, as you know, here we're going to put a float under it, F, so that we know what it's outputting. And as you'll recall, let's make it nice and wide so we can see what it's doing here. Okay. Locking my patcher and just looking, it goes all the way to 127 and all the way down to 0. Now for pitch shift, we would probably like to go between 0 and about, it would probably be crazy to go over 6.0, which is 6 times higher than normal. So we're going to click, unlock your patcher, click on the slider, and go over to your inspector. And then scroll on down and say, here's the range, 128. We're going to double click on that and make it 6.0. And right up here above it, it says float output. Just click on that and let's go back over here, lock our patcher, and make sure it's doing sort of what we want. So 0, and then all the way up at the top is 6, and there's lots of decimal points in between. That is great. And yeah, so sometimes it's nice to be able to say, hey, just play at normal speed, okay? And hopefully the way we can do that is have a message of just 1.0 and send that in the top. But I'm not sure if that'll work, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but let's see if it does work. It does. Perfect. Sometimes it's too hard to explain, but you have to send back in a different number to get another number out once you change the range. But this is great. So 1 gives you a 1. So this is to play at normal speed in case you're driving yourself crazy. Okay, unlocking your patcher. Now we run this over to the pitch shift. And hey, while we're at it, look. We can take another one of these and option click on it and move it over to this side and run it right into the signal. Here's my little segmented patch cord there. And let's just click them both to 1, both to 1. Oh, and what the heck? We'll also connect them to our preset. So if we find something we really like, we can store it. All right, so here we go. We're going to hit play here. So we like that one. So let's say we decided we liked that, and we'll try that for number 6 there. Shift, click, and then but none of these had their original speeds to them, so now we'd have to save them as they were again, because they don't know to change this one back. So you sort of have to start all over. Okay, we'll shift click on that. I'm just making kind of new things based on
6, 7, 5, 6, 7.
5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7.
faster, please. That's kind of nice. I'll take it. Alright. We'll shift click on that. So now we've got a variety of
1,
2, 3, 4.
Alright. Well, that is super duper interesting, and you can make a whole sort of variety of things and change your recordings. And this is a way to separate speed from pitch. Alright, well, very good. So we've separated speed from pitch using the groove object, and we've even managed to find a way to hit stop, and found a way to pick out pieces of the groove to play back, pieces from the buffer to play back on groove. Well, that was really extraordinary, and thank you all for watching. And in the next video, we'll just hook it up to a keyboard for fun. But patch well, and I will see you all next time.